And so that was where I started to really become aware, to be quite honest, that there's something here I can't figure out. But I also became aware through my own self going into stores as an executive when they knew I was coming, and they knew what I did. And having the majority of the store employees, which were male, not shake my hand or look me in the eye. And that's when I started to say, they're not doing this because they're disrespecting me intentionally. I knew that wasn't the case. They're doing it because their perception and their stereotypes are that the guy that's with me has to be the boss. And that's why they're shaking his hand. And where it really hit me on this day that you read about is I had been working crazy hours. I mean crazy hours, trying to get this business off the ground. And in the first 3 weeks of it being off the ground, it was a massive success. And on the day, I don't know if it says it in the case, but the board of directors was coming that day to the store. The reason they were coming is in the first 3 weeks of opening this new concept, sales were 80% comps. 80. That's huge. It's unprecedented. Never before had a business inside the company that was created generated that kind of revenue out of the gate. So the good news is that gets attention. The bad news is it gets attention. But what I realized that day when I didn't get my hand shook was, you know what, it doesn't matter what I ever do in this company. The culture's not going to respect me. And so what I was trying to do with this also, take away gender completely. I was trying to rewire the company through relationships to get speed of decision making. Yeah. And the roles, what I was trying to do is make sure that this is self-sustaining. Because if it's not self-sustaining, I can't run to every pack meeting. My vision was, 50 packs, dens, delta teams, and so on. This is about leadership. You've got to build leadership skills in yourself. So I gave them the opportunity to actually sign up to be the finance wolf, which meant that you manage the budget for this pack, or the give back wolf, or the innovation wolf, which means you help build the business plan for whatever the idea was that you're trying to develop. And then I built curriculum for every single meeting. So they meet 4 hours a month, dedicated time. And in that dedicated time, every meeting has a recipe of curriculum, role plays, exercises, brainstorming time, and templates to teach them how to build out their business idea. And it's got the support on the pack of these key people. In fact, there's 4 people from the corporate office that are on each pack. And these 4 people from the corporate office literally jump on an airplane once a month, and they fly to the pack, which now could be in Miami, it could be in New York, it could be wherever the pack is that they're on, and they're at the meeting for 4 hours, which you can imagine the cultural challenge I got for that. In the pack curriculum, first of all, we actually do role plays at the end of every meeting, saying, guess what, you're going to leave this meeting, people are going to start to ask you, what'd you do with this wolf thing? What is this wolf thing? You just went to the meeting, what'd you do? And because they're seeing women mostly going to the meeting, they're going to try to identify this as something they've seen before. And they've never seen a woman's innovation team before. And so their natural reaction may be negative. And I knew this from my experience on the first early go of this. I said, this is about leadership. So would a great leader respond negatively if someone said something? If they howled at you? Or they said, oh, what were you doing, bashing men? Your emotional reaction is going to be, you're going to have a want to say something that's not going to be positive. And so we actually practice in the meetings and do role plays of all the things that could be said. And then, what's your response? Because you're a leader. And leadership is about you as a human being. It's not about title. That's sort of a fundamental principle of Wolf. And so and then the other thing I said is, if they do say something negative, you know what you should say? Actually, that's not what Wolf is. Here's what we did. We're innovating. We're learning how to build business plans. And we need you at the meeting. And I'm so glad you brought it up. Because we have a Be My Guest program in Wolf, and you can come to our next meeting. And it's free, and you get free pizza and free lunch. So why don't you come? And they're like, we want to invite these people? Absolutely. Because when you're doing something like this, the ones that are passionate about what you're doing are the ones that are saying negative things. If it didn't matter, they wouldn't say anything. And those are the hardest to turn. But if they're actually saying negative things, it's because they have some curiosity. And it's negative, but it's because they're not informed. And that was the answer to your question. That's the other key to getting traction, is I was very strategic to loop in key, people would traditionally call wolf or no wolf, alpha males in the company. One was the guy that was standing right next to me the whole time I was getting my hand shook. Because when I actually said to him, hey, look at this thing when we walk in stores. He's like, what? I'm like, just watch the handshake thing. He's like, what handshake thing? I'm like, just watch. And guess what? He had never realized that I was not getting my hand shook. He had no idea. But what do you think he said when he realized it? Like, oh my God, they didn't shake your hand. They didn't even look at you. Did he say, oh, it's too bad for you? Bummer, girl. You must get this a lot. No, he didn't. You know why? Because he had a vested interest because he had mutual respect for me. And he was one of the kind of king papa bears of this company. And he said, Julie, we got to change this. And I said, I agree. But I have no idea how to change it because it's a deep cultural embedded. And so guess what happened the next time we went into the store? What do you think he did when they all came up to him? Absolutely. He said, actually, I want you to meet Julie. Go easy, because she's my boss. She leads this initiative. Here's all the things she's done for the company. And then I said, and I want you to meet Sean. Here's who he is. Slight change over time changes everything. And one of the roles of being an alpha male is you've got to now communicate to your network what you're learning. Because I can tell someone day in and day out, here's what it feels like to be disrespected. It's a bummer. But how do you tie it to business? And how do you tie it to results? Because people will follow money. And I believe fundamentally you get social change if you can create a huge increase in business. Boosting their ego. So there's a way for you to become an alpha male wolf. You have to interview in front of a panel of women. And so when you start doing that, what starts to happen to the ice cube of corporate culture? It's melting. And can anyone really see it melting? Or is it one little piece at a time? It's one little piece at a time. But is it making it better for everyone, men and women? It's making it better for everyone. Give back is, we haven't talked a lot about, but each quarter, these wolf packs go out and they pick a charity of what we call stray wolves. People who are struggling. And they go and their only assignment is to inspire these people. So I had a wolf pack in California that actually went to it was a huge house, gigantic house. And it was a home for kids that are severely abused. And they live in this house now because they've been pulled out of their homes. Kids under the age of 18. And before they went, they called me. They're so terrified. They're like, we gotta go. We don't know what to do. What are we supposed to do when we get there, Julie? I said, just be yourselves. Just introduce yourself to these kids and make them feel like they matter. That's the whole principle of wolf. So they did. Well, what they didn't tell me is because they were so nervous, they grabbed a camera off the shelf at Best Buy, and they grabbed a portable printer. And they said to themselves, well, we'll just take this in and show them the new technology. Great. Guess what happened? They started taking pictures of the kids and printing them out. Do you think these kids that have been severely abused to the point that they've been pulled out of their home have ever had the picture of themselves taken? That was the learning. The kids became so emotional they started breaking down because they said, you know what, no one's ever taken my picture. Because why would anyone take their picture if they're battering them around all the time? And that's a perfect example of the give back strategy of how do you build those kinds of leadership skills in human beings? I don't think you can PowerPoint them and get people to go, oh, I've got to remember to engage. Engagement, that's the first thing I have to do as a leader. When you're sitting across the table from someone that's really struggling, if they trust you, they're going to tell you. And then what's going to happen when you build them up? What do you think happened to those kids when they left? They probably have never seen those people from the wolf pack again. But do you think the kids remembered what it felt like to be respected? And how do you think that changed their outlook on life? And what they were going to become? And how do they now think about Best Buy, by the way? Are they going to tell everyone they know to shop there? So isn't it just strategic business to give back? It's the most powerful way to spend your marketing dollars.